These honeysuckles are blooming really nice. Look at the roses coming on, and the clematis. Lots of clematis coming up everywhere. Here, it's just growing really well. Here's clematis, all blooms coming on all over the place here. Yeah, oh, this is, we're going to have a really big bloom of clematis here in a few days. This one here is really getting ready to open it. Now I'm on the other side of and all these roses over here are getting ready to bloom. All the buds forming. These are actually raspberries up here. There's going to be a ton of raspberries in here too. Oh, and these are hardy lilies, the extra tall ones. Oh, look at this bloom here. And these are all raspberries that we're going to have through here. On both sides of the path right in here. Put all those raspberries back in there. This bush here is getting ready to bloom. I didn't get it taken out this year, but I'm definitely going to next year, because I think the blooms are kind of insignificant on it when it finally does bloom. It's amazing how things have just shot up, isn't it, over in the last week alone. The chocolate vine here is, I think, done blooming pretty much. Here's the one bloom in there left. It's not done yet. And I still need to get back here and tie it up to the stand. Oh, here's a bunch of blooms underneath of here. Look at the size of the leaves of this hosta right here, isn't it? And that's the same kind of hostas I have everywhere else. These tall, they're either ostrich ferns or wood ferns. I'm not sure which. And this here, that was covered with yellow flowers a few days ago, is lamium. These peonies here are getting ready to bloom, and you can see the ants running all over them. Oh, and the rhododendron is blooming. And lots of blooms coming on. Here's another one opening up. Yeah, this would be real pretty when it's done. I think this is the most. Right there. Here's more right back in here. Hello there, kitty. Julie's the one that feeds you, not me. Here's a wild geranium that's blooming. Struggling away back in here with the lamium and the hostas and the coral bells. And this bleeding heart here is almost done. This bush honeysuckle is blooming right now. There's another bush honeysuckle right here that is self-seeded itself from off of this one. You have to be digging up seedlings all around these. The hummingbirds love these blossoms. They'll spend quite a bit of time on this bush, just going from bloom to bloom. I don't think they're scented at all. And the bluebells are done. It's sad when the bluebells are all done blooming. But and this is Queen Anne's lace. I need to get rid of it. I think it can take over if you don't get rid of it. Here's a bleeding heart that's not quite done. And these astilbes that we put back here are doing pretty good. There's all that new growth coming on out of here. All of these peonies that are getting ready to open. All covered with little ants all over the blooms. I think the ants climb all over these blooms and they actually help the blooms to open, but the ants get like a real sweet nectar is why they like doing it. Where it was all daffodils is now all hostas. Here's bishop's weed or goutweed, I believe. Daffodils. This bleeding heart still got a lot of blossoms on it. I just took one of these hostas and laid it on the ground, and then every time I walk by it I pour more water on it, hoping that it will start growing right there so I can have another hosta clump here without having to dig any more under this tree. Here's these coral bells over here that we just planted this year. Here's this variegated dogwood in bloom. Here's these irises getting ready to bloom. You can see it won't be long now. They'll have big purple blooms. Look at that. Here's this Nanking bush cherry that we just planted this year. Hopefully it's going to have some nice blooms on it. And I don't even know what this is right here, but I didn't plant it this year. Oh, here's the other Nanking bush cherry growing away underneath all those daylilies. I should probably get out here and cut some of the daylilies out around it so that it can grow. Here's a late tulip that's just now blooming. Look at that. Isn't that huge bloom? How about that? That back in there that I planted several years back is a bloom flower. Hopefully it gets enough growth on it to bloom again this year. This is these primroses that I planted here this year, firecracker, cultivar firecracker. Here is this variegated jugula that I planted here this year. It's doing just fine. Here's the yarrow there, right there that I planted here this year. That's the red breasted one, cerise queen. I believe this is going to be a black-eyed Susan, or maybe a coneflower. I'll go with black-eyed Susan though. Here is this jugula that I planted this year. This one here is chocolate soldier, I believe. It's growing pretty good, actually. And here is the light colored, I don't know what it is, Goldilocks Creeping Jenny, it says. This is another wild geranium here. These are daffodils that are done blooming. This is another wild geranium. These are irises that are getting very ready to bloom. This looks like a lavender one. This one looks like a yellow one. The poppies are blooming. Look at that. These poppies here look like they're done. I'm gonna let them reseed though. Used to be a lot more poppies in here, but I think that all of these daffodils, and I believe these here are resurrection lilies, and this here is that yellow loosestrife. I think all that stuff is crowding it out. This is the yellow loosestrife here. So, and these daylilies, of course. This is a good example of something that I was going to clear out this year, and I just didn't get to it. So I'll definitely clear them out next year. And because the time for moving plants for this year is past, I think. And a lot of these lilies just probably would go on the compost pile because I've just got so many of them everywhere. And the hardy lilies like this one right here, I'll keep. There's another one back in there. But yeah, a lot of those. If I don't find a place to put them, they're going to be gone. And these are ground cover phlox here. And this is Laetris right here that's doing very good. This is the growth from last year I'm cutting off. And that trumpet vine I planted in there didn't seem to grow this year. But the one I planted over here is growing very good. And once it gets started, it'll send up stuff everywhere. And I think this is a volunteer honeysuckle bush that I'm just going to dig out. Here is a red dragon sedum that I planted in there many years ago, struggling away amongst the creeping jenny. Here is more of the red yarrow that I planted in here, and here's the wood phlox I planted in here. Remember when I planted them here, it was all bare in here, but now things have all grown up around it. And back underneath everything now. And these peonies grew up all around everything. Got the ants over here digging them, opening up the blooms. Hello there, Mr. Squirrel. How are you? Aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid? This must be a tame squirrel. I bet somebody has fed him at one time. Here is some more wood phlox that I already had growing here, struggling away in here among the daylilies. And I think this has been here for a few years. But I've been hiking in the woods before, when these would be naturalized everywhere in the woods, and the whole woods would just smell of their perfume, because it's a very sweetly scented wood phlox, they're called. That one doesn't really have a scent, but I thought the ones I found before had strong perfume. And here's some things I moved here just this year. It gets super hot out here in the sun. It's almost full sun every day, all day long. So, and as late as these things were moved here, it might be a miracle if they make it. But it looks like the irises and the daylilies, of course, are doing fine. And that is this yellow loosestrife there. That stuff can be kind of weedy too. And these hostas I've got out here around the tree are doing very good. It'd be nice if I could just like lay some hostas on the ground, dig them up and just lay them on the ground, and then keep watering them every day if they would grow. So I'm going to try that over here. I just laid some on the ground, and every time I go by, I water them. I got the watering can laying right here. So yeah, let's just see if that works. And here is the moonflowers I planted in like a little raised bed with a post in the center for them to climb on, and plus some strings. I don't know how they're taking the move from peat pots out here into the... Here is some seeds I'm starting. They're all flowers, and we'll see how they go. I've got some more packages of flower seeds I'm going to put out here too. And some of my tomato plants, pepper plants, and cucumber plants I started way too early, and I put out here, and they're actually not doing very well. It was a pretty hot day when I planted them, and I think that they just wilted, and so it's hard to say how they're going to do. And this one might be okay. So we just need to wait and see, I guess. I think don't start them too early, and I never put my plants outside the acclimate either. And I got some more seeds I'm going to put in the garden here. And this wasn't a garden last year, and so there's a big problem with weeds. Like, it used to be a big patch of daylilies over there, and even though I come out and hoe them up, here's Vinca minor volunteering in the garden. It used to grow here. Here's daylilies. Every day that I grow, I tear them up. You know, more of them grow. So I think by next year it'll be a good garden, but This year it's just a fight keeping all the weeds out. So that's oh, here's some more seeds over here I planted. These lupines and evening primrose and foxglove. Those are evening primroses out front that we saw. So hopefully either these seeds or those get started. But that's so much for this year's or this week's garden tour. And so stay tuned next week, and I'll come out and show you around what's going on in my garden again. And thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later on.